So I have switched from driving a 2010 Toyota Hiace to driving one of these every day as my work car. If you guys aren't aware, I am a carpenter. This ute has 500,000 kilometers on it. So what I'm going to do in this video is talk about why I switched to an older car, what's actually gone wrong with it in the first week, and how much everything costs. So the first reason is, why did I switch from a really reliable and frankly excellent car, the Toyota Hiace? It is such a good van. It is much easier to work out of than this car, and that is because I'm actually an apprentice carpenter. I'm sort of coming to the end of my apprenticeship, and I've sort of decided that that's not really what I want to do. However, the skills are still extremely valuable and I can still work out of this car, but I don't really want to be a full-time carpenter. So with this car, I can be a carpenter still. However, I'm just not at the same level, you know. And when I sell the van, I will be able to purchase more cars for the YouTube channel. So that is the direction that I want to take. That is why I've done it. And it's just money that I could use, you know, to have some more interesting stuff. The van is a great car. It is very reliable. There's really nothing wrong with it. But, you know, it's not that. And on top of that, I already had the ute. So I just thought that I'd swap it over. So let's talk about the cost to do that change. Well, first of all, this car has been sitting for quite a few years. It's got 500,000 Ks on it. So I was expecting quite a few things for the roadworthy. Now, it was absolutely disgusting in the interior. I did have to replace a couple of seats. Well, $100 is really all a set of newer seats cost me. And the rest was just time, giving it a big clean up. So nothing else in the interior. However, under the car and the engine bay, it did need quite a few things. So here in front of me, I have the roadworthy list. So let's make it clear from the start that I definitely could have saved money by doing this by myself, but I just don't have time. And because this is a work car, I would have had to take off time for work to do it. It's not efficient. So I have got them to do a lot of the stuff. I did do a few things at home on my own, but the vast majority of the stuff I got done at a shop at full shop prices. So I'm gonna have to give you parts first, just because the labor is all just in one lump sum. It needed new strut tops. Those were $175. The next thing I needed was a tail shaft center bearing. Really not that surprising. It was pretty bad. I remember even driving this to the shop. It was vibrating pretty badly, so there's really no surprises there. The next thing it needed, it leaked oil. I did wash the motor. I sort of hoped that would be enough, but it wasn't. And they didn't take the mickey out of me. It really was leaking. So in the end, that ended up being the sump gasket. And the price for the tail shaft center bearing was $134.70. The oil leak ended up being the sump gasket. So obviously that's quite a bit of work to change. You know, you got to drop the K-frame and do all that. So that was $107 just for the gasket, and the labor we'll get to in a second. The next thing was the exhaust. Really, it was all rusted out and buggered. So I think it's from the cat back is all brand new. So that was $250 and $25 of consumables. It also had this weird thing with the shifter where it wasn't engaging the reverse lights. So I don't know what was going on with that. So the cost to install all those parts I just mentioned, plus resetting that gear selector, removing the K-frame, steering linkage, sway bars, hot washing the oil pan, cleaning the sump, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on there, and servicing it, $750. I think that's extremely reasonable, if I'm honest, because it's a lot of work, and I just wouldn't have been able to do that in the shed. Now, if it was one of my other cars, you know, that there's sort of no time pressure on, I don't mind giving that stuff a crack in the shed. This car is my work car. It wouldn't have saved me any money, me doing it here in the shed, because it would have had to take a day off work. Now, there were a few things that I did at home. It needed a new belt tensioner and a new belt, and I also put in a new water pump. It didn't really need a new water pump, but I just thought, while I'm there and I want this car to be, you know, reasonably reliable, so I did that, and I serviced the motor. All of that was, I can't remember exactly, but it was around $350, you know, nothing crazy. And a new air filter as well. So the invoice here was for $1,521 plus my around $350, $400. So we're at about $1,850 parts and labor to get this car on the road. And I also paid the roadworthy inspection fee, which is, you know, $300. So we're roughly at about $2,100 in terms of parts and labor and everything to get this roadworthy and safe for the road. Now, this car had a few parts before I touched it. It has new brakes and just a bunch of new bushes and stuff. The previous owner did it just before he sold it, which is good. It drives really, really great now. And the next part, which is nowhere near as exciting, is the Vic Roads cost. Now, this obviously had to go through Vic Roads to get registered. I only put 3 months on it at the moment, and that cost $261.93. All up, we're at about $2,300 $2,400, roughly that. So I'm pretty happy with that because that is really not that much money to bring this car back to life. I'm more than happy to spend money on stuff like that. I'm driving this car every day. It's really not that much money to make sure that it's safe for the road and to make sure it doesn't leave me stranded by something dumb, by, you know, saving $50 on not getting a belt or a center bearing or whatever. So another expense I've just remembered as well, I did fit out the car, and you know, that was with my own labor, and I did buy some drawers off Facebook for like $100. So yeah, that's another. So about $2.5 grand to get it ready. And the next thing to talk about is what's gone wrong. Now this car, I was expecting some teething problems because it has been sitting for so long. So let's quickly go over what's gone wrong. Now the very first thing I did on day one, this is totally my fault, is I slid a timber straight through the back window. That was an absolute bugger move, and it was totally my fault, not the car's fault at all. In fact, the car did me a favor because the window all stayed together as one piece, and I was just able to pick it up and put it in the bin. So yeah, a bit annoying, but what are you gonna do? I did hose it down and it doesn't leak somehow, so I'm not even sure if I'm gonna fix it, you know, until the canopy comes off, because it would be quite a nightmare to fix it now. The worst thing that went wrong though is the coolant temperature sensor failed, and I noticed because I was driving around and I just kept seeing my temperature creep up. So what I've done right now, just as the temporary fix, is just unplugged it, and it means I've got an engine light, but it just means that the car doesn't know what temperature it's running at, so it runs the thermos at full ball. Just means I don't overheat. It's not a permanent fix, just to get me by, so until I fix it, which, you know, won't be too long. Next thing I did is I accidentally left one of the drawers open, slid the drawer open into the tailgate, and it snapped those tabs off that hold the tailgate up. Again, totally my fault. I probably would have thought it would have been a little bit stronger, but it's not what those things are designed for. It was totally my own fault. I did have my left-hand speaker die, which is a bit annoying, so I'm only listening to music on the right-hand side, but I do have a new set of speakers here. I do think one of my other pulleys needs changing as well. It has actually thrown the belt once, so yeah, not too sure what's going on there. Overall though, the vast majority of the stuff that's gone wrong is really my fault, so I'm actually really happy with switching back to this car. I do like driving a basic car, and this is definitely that. I think it's much better to drive an old girl like this that, you know, anyone can really buy outright than just getting a big loan. So that's sort of what I wanted to do. I didn't want to tie up more of my money on a new ute or anything like that, which you know, a lot of tradies do. So it might not look the best, but it always gets me to work. It hasn't let me down, so good old thing. The other thing that I needed to do is raise it. It actually had double SLs in it before, and I posted heaps of photos and videos on social media, and it looked great when it was lowered and it had all the tools in the back, but it was actually undrivable. I was on bump stops the entire time. I'd be driving along and then it would just be like bang, and you would just, yeah, it was just so terrible to drive. Actually, it was like I was towing. I was overloaded and all the weight was off the front wheels. It was real floaty. It looked great, but it was actually dangerous to drive. So I buggered those off, and I've got some heavy duty towing springs, and it just sits above tyre. Look, it's not perfect. I would like it lower, but it drives so nice now. It drives like a stock height car, and if I'm driving it every day, if I'm honest, that's what I really want, because every now and then I will be towing with this as well. So raising the rear was really, well, it was needed. I also put some stockies on. I don't know if you guys remember, it had some VX Bellina wheels on it from my VX Bellina, and I just put the stockies on off the old VTs just because they look a lot better. I really think they suit the car. You probably won't be seeing too many more videos of this car. You know, it is my daily. I did think of doing a video about showing all the tools off and stuff, but yeah, it can be kind of risky, you know, doing those kind of videos. So I probably won't do that. I would like to manual convert this car in the future. That's probably the only thing that I've got lined up for it. So probably won't be too many more videos on this unless something interesting happens, or Motor Let's Go, or something like that. Which, you know, it's got 500,000 Ks on it, so it could be any time soon, really. I hope you guys enjoyed this little quick video of me just having a yarn about the old ute, and yeah, why I switched to it from the Hi-Ace. You know, I don't regret it. I do like driving the ute, and every time I walk back from the supermarket or whatever, looking at this car, I know that I made the right choice. If this is your kind of content, then please follow along, subscribe, and thank you for watching.